Now then, come this way. Claire drifted weightlessly into the air, gliding across the space before alighting softly at the far corner of the grounds. Ramal and Elandra stepped aside, parting to open a clear path between them. Yuri rose to her feet and began making her way toward where Claire waited. Chris and Sana trailed after them. Claire reached behind her back, her fingers closing around an hidden object. When she brought her hand forward, she was brandishing the testick.
Wait, the testick? You brought it out here?
Yeah, well, and there's this too. Claire replied. As she spoke, she jutted out her right index finger with a knowing look. Resting there was a golden band, the Auramourus. Salit gave it to me, Claire remarked with a poised, matter-of-fact air. He told me I should be the one to keep it. She then lowered the testick toward the earth and began murmuring a low, rhythmic incantation under her breath. Magia Baros Niard. With those final words, she gave the testick a sharp, decisive flick. Instantly, a faint, circular pattern shimmered into existence upon the ground, glowing with a soft, ethereal blue light. Inscribed within a circle roughly 3 meters across was a grand hexagram. Its interior was crowded with a dense, intricate thicket of sigils and cryptic characters, etched with such fine detail that they seemed almost to vibrate.
I've never seen a magic circle this complex,
Yuri whispered, her eyes locked onto the pattern in sheer, breathless wonder. Now then, take your place in the center, Claire directed. Exactly as she was told, Yuri stepped forward until she stood at the very heart of the magic circle. Claire then raised her testick with the focused poise of a conductor, and Yuri closed her eyes. Facing Yuri, who stood bracing herself for what was to come, Claire gave the testick a sharp flourish. Deities Gunario. In the next heartbeat, the magic circle erupted with a blinding radiance and began to rotate clockwise. Simultaneously, a flurry of dust began to swirl around Yuri's feet. As if a localized gale had been stirred solely within the bounds of the glowing ring. The wind grew into a fierce, howling tempest with every passing second. Yuri kept her eyes squeezed shut, her hands clutching her skirt against the rising pressure. As the dust spiraled upward in a tightening vortex, like a miniature tornado. And almost imperceptibly, the world around them had succumbed to a deepening twilight. Abruptly, a sound like a low, guttural groan, a resonant, shuddered through the air. As the dust continued to swirl, a pitch-black shadow began to seep out from the nape of Yuri's neck. The shadow grew steadily, swelling in volume as it slowly started to coalesce into a tangible form. The shadow, now possessing a humanoid torso with a goat-like head crowned by 2 massive horns, fully detached itself from Yuri's body. With a final, resonant groan, it soared upwards amidst the swirling dust, only to dissipate into mere motes of ash and vanish. In the wake of the first, a parade of monstrosities began to crawl out from within Yuri, one after another. There were feline abominations with twisted features and simian horrors that defied nature. They were followed by a colossal, many-legged centipede and a gargantuan earthworm encrusted with countless, blinking eyes. In total, 5 or 6 of these grotesque entities tore themselves free from her body. Each one let out a harrowing death rattle, a final, agonizing shriek before dissolving into nothingness and vanishing forever. When the final shadow at last winked out of existence, the vortex collapsed, and the surrounding world reclaimed its natural brightness. The intricate magic circle Claire had conjured began to fade, its glow bleeding away into the earth. The moment the pattern vanished entirely, Yuri crumpled to the ground. Seeing her fall, Chris and Sana rushed to her side in a panicked blur. Yuri lay there, her consciousness drifted away into the dark. As Sana looked up at Claire with eyes full of trembling anxiety, Claire simply spoke. "She's only sleeping." According to Claire, a period of rest was essential to allow her spiritual vibrations to realign. And they would have to let her sleep until the process was complete. However, they couldn't simply leave her lying there in the dirt. Chris and Sana looked around in dismay, but the school grounds offered nothing but an endless expanse of sand.
You can lay her on my back.
As the two stood there, at a loss for what to do, Ramal spoke up and lowered his long neck toward them.
Thank you, Ramal.
Chris and Sana worked together, attempting to lift Yuri's limp form between them. Noticing their struggle, Claire gave the testic a casual flick. Instantly, Yuri's body became weightless, drifting upward into the air before settling as softly as a feather onto Ramal's broad back.
Those demons that just came out, were all of them really possessing Yuri?
Chris asked, after offering his thanks to Claire. More or less, Claire replied with that same poised expression, though there was a distinct trace of pride in her voice. Honestly, they weren't as much trouble as I'd expected.
So, is Yuri going to be okay now?
Sana asked, her voice tinged with lingering worry. Well, that depends on her from now on, Claire replied. But at least she won't be interfered with by demons anymore, so she'll be fine.
Anyway, that's good news, isn't it?
Chris interjected, trying to sound reassuring. Sana, however, merely turned to him and offered a strained, almost forced smile.
Oh, I suppose so.
Sana, it seemed, was inexplicably burdened by a sense of responsibility for Yuri's current state. The unspoken sentiment that she wished she had been a kinder friend in elementary school hung heavy in the air around her.
There's no need to worry about it,
Chris assured her gently.
Actually, Yuri told us once that we saved her back in elementary school, so why not just continue to be friends from now on?
Looking down at Yuri, who lay exhausted and deeply asleep on Ramal's back, Sana nodded subtly, a faint glimmer of understanding in her eyes. Sana, despite her popularity with both boys and girls, had few true friends. She claimed it was because she was too cool or detached, but Chris believed the truth was she was simply too sensitive. She tended to overthink and overexert herself in social interactions. Unlike Chris, she possessed excellent communication skills and handled relationships gracefully, yet rarely opened her heart fully to others. However, there was a gentle side to her. She couldn't ignore someone like Yuri, who had been ostracized.
That must be why she always looks out for me too,
Chris mused, gazing at Sana's profile, a quiet understanding dawning within him.